In this video, I'm going to show you how to make these milestone markers using your Glowforge. In today's video, we will be making a set of these milestone markers using basswood plywood and some white acrylic. If you're looking for links to the supplies or the project file or even the settings, check the video description first. I always post everything in the video description, and if you have additional questions, you can leave those in the comments too. All right, let's get started. I'm using a piece of plywood that's 1/8 of an inch thick, and then the dimensions of this board are about 11 3/4 by 20.5 inches long, and that will fit in the Glowforge laser bed really nicely. You can cut it without masking it, but I like masking it with a paper transfer tape. So just cover the entire board with some masking. And using a brayer, I brayer it down. Before we do the next side, I trim off the first side, just using the board as my straight edge. There are rolls available that are 12 inches wide. This roll I've had for a long time, but I actually don't mind having it be a little bit longer because then there's a little bit more room for error. You'll place that board with the side that you want up in your laser bed. So starting in Glowforge, you can see our board is already in here. So I'm going to upload my design by clicking here and then upload and choosing my file. If you purchased my file from Etsy, it will come in pretty organized. So I'll show you how to use it. So this one is the file with everything in it. You can go ahead and delete out the numbers since we're going to make those out of acrylic. And then you can see my markers all come in organized and ready to go. We're going to select medium basswood hardwood, and you can see that my markers fit perfectly on my project blank. So I could move this down just a hair to make sure that those are in frame, which we will do because I have a little bit of room up here. So I'm going to scooch them down and move my honeycomb pins. But before that, I'm going to change my settings. So my month lines, I want those engraved. And my settings that I use are speed of 1,000, power 80, and 195 lines per inch. You can use whatever settings you want, but this is what I'm going to show you today. And then for my numbers, this is just an indication where we're going to glue our acrylic. So I just need a score line. So you can either do a high quality or a draft. It's going to be covered up, so draft is fine. These are the settings if you want to see what those are. And then I'm just going to do a proof grade cut for my circles. So 3 different types of actions that we're going to do. And I'm going to adjust my board quickly and then I'll show you how it cuts. It is lifting slightly in this bottom corner. I'm not going to worry too much about it because I want to make sure that my image is on the wood. So that'll refresh and show you a preview. And you can see that I actually have a lot more room down here. I can't adjust my image. If I adjust it, it will go out of bounds. So I need to leave my image in the same place, but now you can see that it will not cut off at the top or the bottom. So I can click print. And this project will take 15 minutes and 3 seconds, so not super long, and we'll get cutting. Everything's vented out and I'm ready to start. So right now you can see that the Glowforge is doing the score. So it's not a ENGRAVE that's filled in, it's actually just the outline so I know where to glue my images. The last step of this is cutting the circles out. I nested these images really close together to conserve material, so you will want to make sure that you have your masking on both sides in case there's any flashback or charring that happens. That way you won't have any charring on your final project. I should have mentioned this earlier on, but when the Glowforge is cutting, I do stay in the same room the entire time. I babysit my machine to ensure that there's nothing going awry. The masking, it could catch fire, and I'm always here. I have a fire blanket in my craft room as well as a fire extinguisher. So I do take as many precautions as I feel I need to. So just make sure that you're not walking out of the room, leaving your laser unattended when it's cutting and engraving and in use. Here's what the board looks like after it comes out of the Glowforge. So you can see that the shapes are very nested together, but they do all fit on one board. So all 12 will fit on one board if you use the file that I have listed in my Etsy shop. And then I like to stack all of my circles together and then take a paper towel or a microfiber cloth and just rub along the edge to make sure that all the char isn't coming off on my hands or the person that I'm gifting this to. Sometimes I also will take each individual one and just rub along the edge. And you can see that the charring is super minimal on that paper towel because the settings are really accurate. So there's not much charring, but just wiping them to make sure that there's no char before you assemble them will prevent any black marks on your final project. So go ahead and wipe all of them off. So once you're ready to peel off your masking, you can just peel off the main bit with your hands, and then if you want to peel it off with your fingers, you can use your fingers or a weeding tool. You just want to make sure that you're using something that's not super pointy so that you don't accidentally peel off any of the wood. So you can see that it's a little bit difficult with your fingers, so let me show you a better technique. So for this technique, I have a piece of Gorilla Tape, duct tape, and I'm going to peel off the main bit and then stick my tape right over my month and then just peel it off. Peel off the inside of the circle, and you can see it all lifts right off and removes it with minimal effort. So if you're struggling and you're trying to figure out an easier way to get off your masking for intricate designs, you can use this piece multiple times. Just stick it back on, push it in, and peel it off. And it works really nicely. So that's a little tip that is super helpful. All right, the next thing we're going to do is add our acrylic numbers onto them. So I cut these out with white acrylic and then I glued it on with super glue, but it's a lot easier to use 3M adhesive. I'm going to show you how to do that. You can buy a small roll like this roll. It's more expensive to buy it in smaller quantities, but if you don't need a lot, you don't want to go invest in $185 worth of adhesive. So this smaller roll is a good option, and I can link it. It's from Amazon. It's a 6-inch roll, so you would have to do 2 sheets to cover your board if you wanted to, but since I only need a little bit of acrylic, I'm just going to use the 6 inches. And I think this roll is, let's see, 5 yards, so 15 feet. So you can get quite a few boards covered up. So to add your 3M adhesive, you will need to pull the masking away on one side so that it sticks to the actual product. So you'll peel away your masking. 6. I accidentally cut a little circle out of there, so I will need to pay attention to where that is so I don't mess up my project. So the 3M adhesive is double-sided tape basically, and we're going to open up our roll and there'll be one sticky side. And we'll place that onto our acrylic. Just want to line that up, make sure we're not covering our masking. And then depending on how much of your board you need covered, you'll just cover up your board. Flip over our board and just trim that right off. And now we're ready to put this into the laser. You want to make sure that you're positioning your file over the 3M side. So I'll show you how to set that up after I drop it into the laser. So you'll be able to hear the Glowforge humming in the background, and you can see my preview. This bottom half, so the lower 6 inches, is where I have my 3M tape. So I want to make sure that I place my artwork in this lower half. And if you want to add a shape or a rectangle so that you know how much adhesive you have, you could do that. So I could add a 6-inch indicator so I know that this bottom 6 inches is adhesive if you need a visual. And then if you haven't already uploaded your artwork, you can click Import Artwork and upload your file. So when your file comes in, it'll be the 2 different parts like before. You can erase all of your markers, and then you just want your numbers over here. Let's group these together so that we don't lose any dots. And then I'm going to place my numbers down on the bottom part, and you can see that I'll be totally fine. I don't even need to worry about the 6 inches. And I can just arrange these so that they don't go off my material. We'll set my focus first. So to set focus, click on the 3 dots here and then choose set focus. I'm cutting on this lower portion, so that's where I want to set my focus. So I click that. And now I need to set all my materials. So we are using white acrylic, medium white acrylic. And I'm going to choose cut. It'll be the proof grade cut, so you can see that I do need to adjust it so that my artwork isn't cutting off, and I want to avoid that little dot there. And when I cut it, there's a few things I want to pay attention to. When I'm removing it from the honeycomb tray, I don't want to lose any of my little dots on my eyes. So I will be really careful to make sure to grab all of those. And if I lose them, I can always shake out my honeycomb tray, but just pay attention to where your dots are so that when you're grabbing it off the laser, you don't lose any. So you can see that this artwork only takes up about 2 inches or so. It doesn't take a lot of acrylic, and I even have a little leftover pieces here. So I save all of those scraps for additional projects. So my focus is set. I have my artwork position. I'm going to click print. And this cut will take 5 minutes and 37 seconds. So I will cut it and then meet you back here. Silly me, should have mentioned to always do a test cut before. So make sure to just fine tune your settings before you cut with your 3M on the back. It did work, but maybe adjust your settings. I will do a test cut and then add my new settings so that you can see them. Okay, so you just saw me cut that, and I wasn't thrilled with my cut quality. I should have done a test cut with this specific 3M. So this is your reminder, always do a test cut. So I'm going to recut one of my numbers that didn't make it. I ended up cracking it trying to get it out. So I'm going to set the focus on my little scrap, and then let's add our artwork to the scrap. And instead of the proof grade cut, I'm going to click on this arrow to open this setting. I looked at my previous cut settings when I use 3M, and normally I knock it down by about 10. Let's do 13 just for good measure. So I'm going to do 170 and leave the power at full. So it's still in the white setting, it just slowed down, and then we'll give this a go. I have this little tool from my days at Silhouette, and it's a pick-me-up tool, and it's really helpful for little dots like eyes. And you can just pick it up and then make sure to save that. And let's see these settings. Much better. Now you can see it just pops out. So I will add those settings in the video description so that you have them to reference. All right, so now we have our markers, our acrylic, and we're ready to assemble. If you want to sand down your marker, you can use a fine grit sanding block. This is 220, and just do a hand sand over the areas that you want to sand down. I try to avoid the engraving, so the months or the year, and I just kind of do a pass. You can do a circular motion or just with the grain, since this is such a high grit, and just sand off anything that you want to smooth out. If there's any charring along the edges, you can kind of just quickly go over that and then just once around the edges. To wipe off the dust, you can use a tack cloth or a microfiber cloth and just make sure that the surface is free of any dust so that the adhesive will set up properly. Compressed air is also a really good thing to have on hand if you get any sawdust stuck in your engravings. You can just use the compressed air. to make sure that the surface is nice and clean. If you have any insides of your letters left in, you can use a weeding tool or a knife and just kind of poke them out to make sure that everything is out. And then I start by peeling off the masking on the front. Just peel it away like you're weeding vinyl. And then we're going to attach it onto our wood. So we'll peel off the back liner, which will reveal the 3M adhesive. So just peel that off. And now that's sticky, it's like a big sticker. And to line this up, I have the score lines there as a reference. You kind of just want to put your whole head over so you can see where you're lining up. And just ensure that all of your score lines are covered up. If they're not, before you press it down, you can reposition it. So say you lined it up and it just didn't look right. Don't press it down right away. Line it up. Make sure that you like where it is. And if you need to reposition it, you have a little bit of wiggle room to reposition. But once you press it down, it's pretty secure. So now I have it lined up where I want, and I'm just going to firmly press that into place. It will take a little bit of time to cure up and be completely permanent, but you can see once I press it down, I can't easily pull it off anymore. So you just want to make sure that you have it covering all those score lines. And I may adjust my file so that the score lines are a little bit inset. They're inset by 2 points right now, and that was enough for me to cover them up, but I might just inset them a little bit further in. So if my file looks a little bit different, that's why I just made a few adjustments. So I'm going to press that in. Like I said, it will take some time to cure up. And then we need to add the dot for our eye. So I have the masking on the top. I'm going to remove that first. And using my pick-me-up tool, I'm going to hold my little dot so I can position it so it's nice and secure. And there you go. There's the monthly marker. I'll show you the set so you can get a good look at all of them together. If you purchase the file on Etsy, you'll receive all of the cut files that you saw. So the wood will cut the circle, engrave once you set it up to engrave, and then score where it needs to score. So it is broken up in those different layers so you can easily assign those actions. And then you'll want to cut your acrylic after you attach your 3M. So every product that I used in today's video will be linked in the video description. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like it and consider subscribing to my channel because I have a whole bunch of craft projects using my Glowforge, my X tool, my Cricut, all that good stuff. So check out my other videos, and if there is a tutorial or something you need help with, make sure to leave a comment and let me know because I'm happy to help you out in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.